I didn't really get a chance to talk about the news of Errol Spence activating his rematch clause to take on Terence Crawford, and from my understanding, it's supposed to happen in December. I wouldn't be surprised if they push it to January, February, but from my understanding, from what I remember in the contract, from what we've heard about the contract and the fighters speak about, and people in the circle of the fighters, it's supposed to be in December. Yeah, Liam Smith's hair has always been great. What up, Donnell? I do feel that once we get closer to the fight, there will be some buzz. As it stands right now, I don't see a reason for a rematch with the way it went. Terence Crawford controls if the fight happens at 154 or 147. I believe it's going to happen at 154, so Crawford can say, look, no excuses, I beat him at 154 too. Crawford's talking about moving up to 168. During the media workout, we were here streaming for Terence Crawford in the UFC Performance Center in Vegas. He was saying, I won't go to 168 to fight Canelo, but I will fight him at 160. Now, you have to think, I think it makes perfect sense for both of the fighters to entertain the fight and see what the buzz is around it. And Terence Crawford is a different type of fighter. You know, we've seen this. If you watch his career all the way from the Top Ring TV days, you can just tell he was a different type of fighter. A fighter that if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it, or he's going to try his damn well best to make it happen. And thus far, he has done everything he said he's going to do. So if he's presented with a Canelo fight, and Canelo's got to beat Jermell Charlo on September the 30th, we're going to be here for that. And I got to be honest, I'm giving Jermell Charlo a chance. I don't consider Canelo a 168-pounder. He just masquerades around there because the guys, you know, look who he beat at 168 to become champion, even if you go all the way back to Rocky Fielding. So he's a 160-pound fighter masquerading at 168, in my personal opinion. And then Sergey Kovalev at 175, coming off of a fight earlier, he had, and he's a scumbag. I told you, I almost had to fuck Sergey Kovalev up once. I was gonna beat him down. So we almost got into some shit in New York. So he had a vodka in his belly, and he's a no good woman beater, and the dog, he's degenerate animal. Okay. So Canelo beating up Sergey Kovalev, it was somewhat impressive, but it wasn't a prime Kovalev. But then again, what is a prime Kovalev? It wasn't a Kovalev that a lot of people felt beat Andre Ward. He had a lot of shit going on. So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, in my opinion, with Canelo's resume at 168 and above. And depending on how you rate Caleb Plant, seems like a cool guy. Charismatic dude. You know, he's got some appeal to sell some pay-per-views, but I was never high on Caleb Plant, ever. And I never considered Jose Uzcategui a boogeyman. That's how Caleb Plant really got over the hump, and people started, you know, hyping him up. So when I look at Jermell Charlo moving up to 168, I don't consider Canelo to be the bigger fighter. But only time will tell. So I do feel that Errol Spence has a really uphill battle to try to beat Terence Crawford in a rematch at 154, because what is he going to do differently? He's always been that fighter. Jab, jab, left. You know, yeah, he's got some nice body punches, but no real razzle-dazzle that we've really seen like in that first fight. And if you look at it, he was a level and 2 levels above his previous competition. That when he brought that to a fighter that was obviously now better than him, or going into the fight a lot of people felt was equal or on the same level, then he just got exposed. He looked like shit. You know, like he looked, you know, like he didn't belong in there. It was nothing he could do. And he tried his heart out. And, you know, big balls to take that rematch. because it's hard for me to believe that his team and PBC and Haymon and even Showtime wanted him to take that rematch. Because for one, pay-per-view buys money. The way he got beat, how you got to climb. You got to push that boulder up the hill to tell the fans why you should spend money for these tickets. Why you should come this time. Why you should buy this fight again for $89.99 on pay-per-view. After we've been getting smacked around with pay-per-views all year. Oh, but damn, I saw this guy get beat the fuck up. Y'all said he was the truth. And you're telling me to spend $89.99 again? Why? You know, so it's an uphill battle. After Canelo, Charlo, they're going to likely start pushing the next pay-per-view. Supposed to be like David Benavidez, right? David Benavidez and Demetrius Andrade. That's how they do that. Wait till about 2 weeks after a pay-per-view's over, and then they'll start the wheel back over again. So they're going to start pumping out David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade. What's their November pay-per-view supposed to be? So what's their November pay-per-view supposed to be? And then, of course, you got Tank Davis got to return. Now, what they can do for Spence Crawford 2, or Crawford Spence 2, excuse me, they can tell Keith Thurman, listen, you don't got that same marketability that you used to have. You don't bring in the numbers that you used to because you always injured or you don't fight. It's time for you to, you know, bite the bullet and get on this undercard. I understand, but we don't got the money to put you on pay-per-view, Keith Thurman. And against who? Now, whose fault is that? That's the boxing economy, who promised these fighters all this money before, and now the market, the money's dried up. So, let me check and see what my food here. Hold on, I ordered some Chinese. Got to make sure I don't miss it because I got these headphones on here. So, they got to stack up the undercard. Now, or instead of trying to put Erislandy Lara versus Danny Garcia on the card, talk to them two motherfuckers and say, hey, listen, Erislandy Lara, you don't move no numbers. Danny Garcia, you the man, but you ain't moving no numbers no more either. And you've been losing all your big fights. Y'all two should try to build your name back up again, get on this Crawford Spence 2 undercard, and then boom, go for there. Remember, you got Ugas coming back from a pay-per-view, fight Mario Barrios on the undercard of Canelo and Charlo. It's like either get on these undercards or these more, like these bigger fights with more interest, or you just got to sit out. You just got to sit out. Lara versus Garcia is an undercard fight, but they don't think they undercard fighters anymore. These fighters, man, like, you know, I'm trying to say it this way. I'm not saying these two fighters, but overall athletes are known not to be the, you know, the most financially savvy of people. You know, and they letting the clock run and run and run and run and run. And it's like, yo, all these guys are in their 30s now. You know, Chris Eubank Jr. is 33 years old. You know, guys that we used to look at as like kids, watching, oh, he's just a young guy. You know, you got a guy like Adrian Broner, 33. There's some shit like that. These motherfuckers ain't kids no more. They waiting around. Andy Ruiz thinking that he can get $10 million a fight. Fighting who? Where? Where's it coming from? So he's sitting out. You know, they got to get with the program. Got to get with the program. So it's going to be hard from my side, from a media side, just like, okay, all right. All of us YouTubers, in some way, shape, or form, good or bad, lies, clickbait, we're all promoting the fight. All of us. All the YouTubers, in some way, us getting on here, we're telling people about the fight. So what is there to talk about? You know, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm going to be like, well, I'm going to try to find ways Spence can win. It's like, he's at a healthier weight. By the way, did y'all notice the Spence fans, the ones who was really, really like deep into it, they starting to climb out. They starting to come out their graves. They've had a very, very difficult 5 weeks. You know, Errol Spence was a lot of boxing fans' world. So to see him just like not just get dominated, but get beat up and beat down, that hurt a lot of people. I've seen like breakdowns, like on like social media breakdowns. I'm just scrolling. I'm like, ooh, 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 ooh. You know, in the bed, like she be like, she be like, can you turn the brightness on your phone down? And I'd be like, oh, 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 oh. Remember I was telling you I was gonna be covering the Errol Spence fight? Remember you said your uncle? He got beat up. Oh, you know, and then the memes, he got memed to smithereens. And you know, that was one of his worst fears. Errol Spence on the first episode of All Access said that when he fought Ugas, he was scared that his teeth was going to fall out because Ugas hit him so hard. Remember, he turned around, he thought his teeth had fell out. But in this case, he was like, yeah, I didn't want to be no meme. But he was getting it bad. Like when the photos came out, they thought they were CGI. You know, they was like, they told me, like, you doctoring images, you bum, you know, you nerd ass. And I'm like, yo, these are the fucking official images, you know? People were saying like he didn't look good. They were saying it's because he was smoking weed, or there was weed in the crowd and it got into his lungs. Somebody tried to say, you know, he was drugged. He just got beat up. It's like, it's okay. You know, it happens in fighting. It's got beat up. You know, but he's got the balls to go back up in there. That's for sure. You know, because shit. And I gotta imagine, like, if I'm his team, I'm gonna steer him away from him. I'm like, look, take a tune up, or listen, champ, like, you know, you still the truth. It was a really, really bad night. But let's go back and rebuild shit. Let's go back and rebuild things. And then if that Crawford fight is still out there in the future, we'll try to pursue it. Knowing damn well, if you're the manager or team, you're not gonna pursue that shit again. But you'll tell him, like, let's just go back and, you know, and dial it back. And remember, PBC, they've been talking about it. It's been out there. You know, wanted him to fight Keith Thurman. Even Spence mentioned it at one point in time. You know, but Errol Spence, you got to give him credit. My bad, I got Payback on the WWE Payback on in the background on Peacock TV. But remember, like, they wanted to keep it in-house. You know, Spence, you got to give him credit because he said when he first woke up from his accident, Al Haymon was right there. It was his parents, and then he saw Al Haymon, and he was like, I want to fight Terence Crawford. And he held to his word. He took no tune-up. He didn't have Keith Thurman forced on him. He said, I want to fight Terence Crawford. And I feel that he always wanted to fight Terence Crawford, but from a business standpoint, he had to get the belts from his side of the street. And why would they send a Danny Garcia or a Sean Porter or a Yordenis Ugas over to ESPN for Terence Crawford before they fight? Now, I can understand Terence Crawford's stance because he was being paid really, really well, guaranteed money over on ESPN. He was making a lot of money for just fighting on ESPN and not pay-per-view. But PBC was ruling the 147-pound division. If you want to ask me, me personally, he never really wanted to be a Al Haymon PBC fighter. Now, he's a PBC fighter, and he is an Al Haymon fighter through PBC. But from my understanding, he's not an Al Haymon fighter. You see what I'm saying? So you got shit like this, right? They'd be like, well, you know, Al Haymon wins anyway in the end. It's like, okay, but yeah, motherfucker, you're an Errol Spence fan. Don't try to hit me with that bullshit. You know? They'd be like, yeah, but at the end of the day, you know, like Al Haymon, they're just about putting on events. Like, it's like, you motherfucker, get out here with that shit. You want to cry. Fuck out of here. But no, in reality, though, it feels like it's like some cashing out going on because a lot of these dudes are losing, man, and they're getting older, and you're wondering, like, who's the next guy? All these guys are on their last legs. Wilder's one, maybe 2 fights away from being done. Keith Thurman don't fight. The Charlos are getting up there now. Spence, look, he might be cooked. You got Boots Ennis, yeah. You got Tank Davis.